Can you hear me? Gregory?
I can hear you, Coach.
Can hear you just fine, Coach.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and just go to the first question. Alex?
Hi, Mike. I'm curious, with June and July opening up in terms of recruiting, being able to have visits and a chance to go out and watch kids. I know you can't talk specifically about recruits, but when you prioritize this class, is there anything specific that you see from a positional standpoint moving forward that you really need to get out of this 22 recruiting class?
Well, again, I think you try to go get the best players that fit what you're trying to do. And with the portal, you don't know from year to year who's gonna stay and who's gonna leave. So, I think you got to touch every position when you're talking about building your basketball team. So I'm going to try to talk to some of the top point guards in the country, some of the top 2s and 3 wing guys, and some of the top 4s and 5s in the country. I think that's important when you're trying to build your program based on the portal. Now, I don't know how long that's going to be around, and I'll still recruit, but I know a lot of these players, they think, well, are you going to recruit over me or on top of me? And I can't tell a kid that I'm not going to recruit on top of him. I'm going to try to recruit the best talent available that fits what I'm trying to do, because I think competition, and if you're any kind of competitor, that's how you get better as a ball club and as an individual player. So, I mean, I never ran away from competition, or, I just wanted to go play and try to make myself known. So those are the kind of kids that I'm trying to recruit here, but I'm definitely trying to, sit at the table with some of the top players.
Kevin?
Yeah, Coach, looking ahead to your roster this year, obviously a lot of changes. I'm just curious about your thoughts with some of the recent additions, Durr, et cetera, about just the style of play and how maybe the pieces are going to fit to what you want to do.
Well, again, I'm going to try to play openly offensively and give a lot of players the latitude to do things with the basketball until they prove me wrong. And then defensively, we're going to try to be a hard-ass defensive team where we get after people and get stops and then gang rebound the ball and go try to have fun offensively. That's kind of my mindset going in. I know I get to start on the floor with these guys on the 9th. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, on the 10th, rather, I'm really looking forward to that, because again, you never know what you got until you put them on the floor and you start doing drills and giving them schemes and things of that nature on both ends of the floor. So, my biggest hurdle, I think, is how quickly can they pick it up? Because you just don't know until you get out and you start practicing.
Tom?
Mike, it's been a couple of months now. I mean, where do you feel from a comfort level standpoint as to how well you're getting to know these kids and not necessarily on the basketball floor, but just in person and how your interaction with them has been?
That's a good question. I mean, it's kind of hard when you can't actually sit down in a room and just talk with young men. Like my players that are here, I make it a point when they come into work, they got to stop by my office and see me first, so we can chat and see, how their day's going and what's going on, in their lives. And that's important to me. I think it helps me from a bonding standpoint, even before we hit the floor running. The new guys is basically, I'm on the phone, talking, watching their AAU games on the weekends and wishing them well throughout the week. I know they had finals this past week coming up. So, that's the only contact that I've actually had. But a lot of these guys, I'll see them next month. They'll be in, and then we'll start with our recruit official visits and unofficial visits that'll come in, and that'll give me a chance to start bonding and talking to some of these guys in person.
Mike Schumann.
Yeah, hi, Coach. This is typically a time of year when you're knee deep into setting up the non-conference schedule. I'm curious what you can tell us about what you've got put together so far, and just more generally, kind of what's your philosophy on the non-conference schedule and what you want that to look like.
Well, I'm going to meet, I'm not going to get too far myself, but I got to meet with my AD and kind of sit down with those guys and actually see exactly where we are. That's going to happen probably, the next day or two, if not early part of next week, and just look at it. I mean, my thing is, I like to get a team in position first before we start chasing, the big boys. I mean, I'm not afraid of competition. Like I mentioned, I want a team that's competitive, and if we can get back to playing the Kentuckys and the Kansas and teams of that nature before we actually get to the Big Ten, I'm open for that. But with this team going in early, I'm sure there's no when these coaches talk about I'm not that coach. You talk about, well, this is a gimme. That there's no gimmies in basketball. You got to come ready to play for 48 minutes. I'll never sell my team and players and coaches on hey, you got to respect your opponent and be ready to play when it's time to play, man, regardless of who it is.
Mike Pegram.
Hey, Coach, Mike Woodson from Peegs.com. Coach, you talked a little bit early on about wanting to add more shooting. How much do you think you addressed that with some of these late additions, and how much more do you need to go to kind of get that ability to shoot the three pretty effectively?
Well, I like everybody to be able to make the threes. I think Michael, the big center, can make threes, to be honest with you. But I think Miller was a guy that we had to address, because I think he can play 2, 3, and 4 at his size, but he possesses a weapon in being able to shoot the long ball. I think Tamar Bates, until he gets here and, from AAU and watching him play, he's shown he can make it, but now you got to show me you can make it at the next level. Xavier is more of a streaky guy. He's more in between the 3-point line, and I didn't bring him in as a knockdown three. So really, to answer your question, I'm still searching in the future for guys that can make the long ball. We're going to work with Thompson as we go down the road, because he's going to have an opportunity to step out and be in that position to make shots. Same with, Galloway and guys like that. Fennessy, is streaky in his shooting, but these are things that we all got to work on. This is our team as we move forward, and we're going to have to put the time in on the floor in terms of shooting the ball, even from a free throw standpoint, because they just weren't a great free throw shooting team. All those areas have got to be cleaned up if you're talking about competing big time in the Big Ten.
Dustin.
I guess kind of speaking of shooting, I wanted to ask about I guess what happened with Jerome Hunter. I know you had a statement about that, but I wanted to see if you could tell us any more about just what led to his departure, and what do you think it costs you, losing another guy that's a sort of a bigger wing that can shoot.
Well, again, I won't get deep into this because I like keeping stuff like that in house. We decided to part ways, and he landed on his feet in Xavier, so I'm very excited about that. And talking about shooting, I mean, he was a guy that could make it, but his percentage didn't show that, and we didn't mix the way I think I wanted it to be between he and I. And that's no knock against him, because I think he's an excellent kid, and we decided to part ways, and he understood, and I understood, and he left here and still landed on his feet at Xavier. So all I can wish him is nothing but the best, and we got to worry about, the guys that we have in our uniform as we move forward.
Jim Coyle.
Coach, how's the golf game? Did Quinn get you on the course Saturday?
Well, Quinn and I, we go back and forth, Scott and I and Fergie and Dr. Rink. We don't even keep score. I did on Saturday. I'm trying to work on my game, which is awful right now. What little I do play, so it's all good.
With what you have coming back, you talked about, you only know really about those guys because you can see them, but you haven't even really been able to work with them. But what you know about what you have coming back and what you've seen coming in, do you have an idea of planning for the future?
Well, again, it's hard to, I'm going to be honest with you guys, with this portal, it's hard to plan because you just don't know, what player is going to be happy once the season's over with, and I'm hoping to make everybody happy. I know I can't play everybody big minutes, and I don't know how deep I'll go this season until I actually get out on the floor and put it together. But guys like Finney and Galloway and Geronimo, these are guys that they got to get better. I got to push them to get better, for us to be better. That's going to be important as we move forward. And these new guys that are coming in, everything is new for them. They're going to be playing with different talents. So it's a matter of how quickly these guys are able to pick up things, because I'm going to throw not a lot of things at them like I would do it at the NBA level. I got to slow walk it, I think, a little bit, but I'm just interested to see how quickly they can adapt to what I'm trying to give them and my staff. That's going to be important moving forward.
Mike Merritt.
I'm good.
Greg Doyle.
Hey.
Hey, Freddie.
Hi.
I guess we don't need these anymore. We just got that email.
I just saw it. Yeah.
Never mind.
Yep.
It's like a
Can you
habit.
mute that?
I
Whoever
am
you
walking
are,
with
can you
mine.
mute
I know.
yourself. Thank you. Hey, Mike, couple small questions. What do you shoot? What'd you shoot Saturday? What kind of golfer are you?
Well, when you're watching Tiger Woods, you watching me. I'm a below scratch player. Should have been on the PGA Tour probably. No, I'm an awful player. I'll shoot anywhere from 85 to 100, but I have a good time.
Awesome. Okay. Now my real question, although I like that question a lot, why are you doing this today? Why? I'm guessing it wasn't your idea. Maybe it was, but why are you talking to us?
Because it's okay to talk to you guys. I mean, when I go back over my career as a coach and player, in the NBA, even when I was here in college, you're going to always have to deal with the media. And I get it. You guys have a job to do, and I have a job to do as well. And I've had run-ins with the media, in some of my stops. It's a part of it. Sometimes I don't think it's fair, some of the things that you read that are said about you. And then there are a lot of things that have been, for the most part, my walk of life with the media has been pretty damn good. And I try to keep it that way. But again, I'm talking to you today because you guys got a job to do, and I respect that. I really do. And I just want you guys to respect what I do.
Thank you. We do.
Zach.
Coach, I guess we've asked a lot about the roster, but just how much, especially as you have to start planning things like official visits, unofficial visits, mapping out the summer, just what's the synergy been like with your staff now that everybody's kind of settled into the positions you want them in? And as again, there's kind of a calendar to start gearing up for here with things starting up again after COVID.
Well, we already got our July and June calendar ready to go. In terms of our visits and what we plan on doing, moving forward. Now, I haven't had we've having coaching meetings and things of that nature, trying to, map out, what I exactly want to do and get my coaches more familiarized with what I'm doing. And we've been watching film, last year's team and teams in the Big Ten and then individual workouts in terms of where we break down the guys that played last year, their individual play and how like a fantasy might run a pick and roll or, what is Trace Davis's sweet spot and how does he get there? I mean, it's just a lot of things that I'm looking at in terms of trying to figure out who can do what and who can't do what and things that we're going to have to teach moving forward. So it's a lot of work that's got to be done, man. And, I'm just anxious to get to June 10th where we can actually start, working out.
Rick,
Yeah, hi, Mike. You've talked quite a bit about, what you like offensively, maybe 4 out and 1 in. You mentioned hard-ass defense. Indiana's played this pack line over the last 4 years to mixed results. Can you explain when an Indiana team of yours is playing well, what kind of defense will we be seeing? What will we be watching?
First of all, I've heard this pack line. What is that?
We don't know. No, it was meant to pack the lane, to stop driving and penetration, leaving Indiana vulnerable a lot of times to 3-point shots because guys were slow to recover.
Well,
Tony Bennett's system that Archie picked up on.
okay. All right. Now that I know that. Well, I'll say this from a defensive standpoint, the ball is the first and most important piece when you start building a defense. And somehow I got to get players to have pride in guarding the ball and not beg for help. That's where it starts. And then you got to put a system in place where if there is a breakdown, you got to have help there. And then that helper's got to have help. And then the next man has got to have help. So it becomes a team defense. I think great defensive teams, they work as a unit and everybody's on a string. And then when that damn ball goes up, everybody's responsible for rebounding it. So you could go and do what you do the other way. So there's a lot of pieces in place that I got to put in, because I'm very picky when it comes to defending, but it all goes hand in hand. Great defensive teams learn to protect the paint and they learn to get out to shooters. And it's all about effort and putting forth, just the will to defend. I mean, and it ain't gonna be perfect. I've learned over the years, there's this thing called what ifs. Hey, if I say, I want you to send the ball this way and it doesn't get sent that way and it gets the other way, what are you going to do? You going to quit? You going to quit on the play? Is the next guy in line in position to help you? Is he going to help you stop the ball? You'd be surprised. There are probably more what ifs in a game than there is the real deal. So, these are things that as a coach, I kind of think out of the box when you're dealing with players because, again, Knight thought out of the box, but when he worked with me here and when we didn't do what was asked of us, he made it a point to make sure that we got back in the box and did what we had to do. So, it's going to be a lot of things moving forward with this team because, again, they don't know me and I don't know them yet. I just know them by watching on film. And that's why I'm so excited about getting them together and getting to work. So we'll see.
last question, Trevor.
Hey, Coach. Just a question about, you coming from the NBA with everyone is so polished. You talk about the workouts on June 10th, they get started. Is there anyone in particular that you are kind of excited to, get your hands in the clay and mold that player that you're just really, really hyped up to work with?
No, not one particular player, because I know if we're going to be a big time team that competes in the Big Ten, it's got to be everybody, because if a player goes down, I got to make that next player that's in line feel comfortable about stepping in and playing. That's what a team is all about. You can't play everybody 30, 40 minutes, but that guy that doesn't play a lot of minutes, he's got to be ready just in case. What if he gets hurt? Are you ready? Or you sit over and sulk the whole time because you weren't playing? I don't want players like that. So I got to get them in the frame of mind. So to answer your question, I'm excited about getting the whole group together and putting a system in place on both ends of the floor. And then we'll have individual workouts for each and every player. And then you'll see who grows and how quickly they grow. I mean, that's what coaching and basketball to me has always been about. So yeah, we got, when you look at the Davis kid, I sold him on, he's got to get better, from his right hand and being able to finish, more willingly around the rim. And he's got to develop a shot. When he picks and pops, he's got to feel good about, making that shot. So these are all individual, things that we got to do with players. But at the end of the day, it becomes a team, man, when everybody's clicking on all cylinders and we're doing the things that are necessary to win, on both ends of the floor.
All right, guys. Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach.